This video is for you. If you sugar baby or do other sex work and there are two conversations that you dread. The first conversation is that your family is going to confront you about sugaring or being a sex worker. And the second conversation is when there's a guy that you're interested in and you dread when and whether to tell him that you sugar or used to sugar or do sex work or used to do sex work. I made this video for you. I'm Dr. Franklin, the sugar psychologist, and I've been the psychologist and couples counselor for sugar babies and women who do sex work since 2012. I'm going to show you how to have both of those conversations. And if you put into practice the idea, tools, and techniques that I'm going to offer you, you'll not only be able to handle these two conversations, but you'll find that those idea, tools, and techniques power you forward towards your other life goals and career goals. So if you feel dread and anxiety about either of those conversations, you're going to feel relieved and empowered when we clarify what's the actual goal of the conversation and what are three idea tools that help you understand where are you in the course of that conversation and how do you guide it, how do you steer it in the direction you want it to go. First, let's get clear about the goal of this conversation. And what I'm about to tell you, you might think he's not right. But hang in there. I'm going to give you three idea tools. And I think in light of those, you're going to conclude, he's on to something. Okay, so what is the goal of this conversation? The goal of this conversation with either your potential boyfriend or with family members is not to arrive at an agreement about sugaring or escorting or whatever it is you do. It's not whether it's good or bad, whether it's too unsafe, whether it's the issue, whether it's a valid business plan, right? You're not trying to arrive at an agreement about any of that. Yeah, they might think that's what the issue. That might be what they want to talk about, but actually they're mistaken. What they're actually concerned about is the same thing that you're actually concerned about. And that is, are you going to get to have the kind of ideal relationship with this person that you want to have? Are you going to get to have a relationship in which you have the emotional feelings that you want to feel? In other words, are you going to get to have a relationship in which your needs get met? So actually, you can bypass the whole conversation about the rightness or wrongness of sugaring, sex work, or whatever it is you do. I promise you, you can. I promise you, you should. So what is your goal instead? The goal of the conversation is you're trying to help them realize that they can still have their ideal relationship with you. You're trying to help them realize they can still have a relationship in which they feel safe, loved, connected, and valued. And you don't get there by promising to do these things or telling them this is true. They will arrive at that realization if you treat them, if you give them the experience of being safe, loved, connected, and valued during this conversation. As true as this is, it's easier said than done. So you're welcome to contact me for coaching. The reason this is not easy is there's an emotional illusion that blocks you and the other person from having the emotional experience we were talking about that you're wanting to have during this conversation. It's an emotional illusion that's got a neurological basis. It's real. So you can do it, but you're going to need to know three things, understand three things in order to be prepared. What is that emotional illusion? Why does it happen? And how do you make it stop? Here are the three big ideas. The first of the three big ideas concerns what's going on in your nervous system and in the nervous system of the other person when you're having this conversation. And why does that produce the emotional illusion that fucks up the conversation you're trying to have? Here's a model to keep in mind. Our nervous system has two parts, and we're going to call them the threat management system and the chill system. Biologists call them the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, but for our purposes, it's more useful to call them the threat management system and the chill system. These two systems do completely different things, and what you're capable of perceiving and doing depends on which one of the two systems is on at a given time. Only one of them will be on at a given time. So what do they do? Okay, the threat management system does four things: fight, flight, freeze, and they used to say faint, but nowadays they say fawn. And fawn means to do something to appease somebody so that they won't do the thing you fear they're going to do. Notice these are the four ways of dealing with a threat, and they are different from the four things that the chill system does. The chill system feels loving, feels loved, perceives that the other person is trying to connect with you, and it digests food. And this is one reason why people, when they're trying to soothe themselves, eat, right? They're giving their stomachs, they're giving their digestive system something to digest. Why? Because it turns on the chill system. How does this apply? Well, let's go back to the situation. In the situation, you've got two people. It's either you and the family member or you and the potential boyfriend. And in both situations, you're wanting to feel connected. Presumably, everybody's chill system is on, right? And so you are feeling loved, feeling loving, and able to perceive that the other one wants to connect with you. And then someone says something like, "I'm an escort," or "Are you an escort?" And at that moment, somebody's threat management system turns on if they believe that being an escort is a bad thing. Let me be really specific. It's not whether or not escorting or sex work or sugaring is a bad thing. What makes it the bad thing is the person having the thought, if you are sugaring, then I'm not going to get to have the kind of relationship I want to have with you, right? It's not, the threat is not that you are a sex worker. The perceived threat is, do I think I'm not going to get my needs met? Is that what this signifies? You're being a sex worker. See the difference? If someone says, "Hey, are you an escort?" Or if you start off and say, "Hey, I'm an escort," then if either of you believes that this is bad news for your needs getting met, then the chill system turns off and the threat management system turns on. Why did the threat management system turn on? Both of you are wanting to feel connected. Both of you have an ideal for what this relationship, what it would be like if you had the relationship you wanted this to be. And if the news about escorting or sugaring or whatever signifies to you, I'm not going to get my needs met, that turns on the threat management system. That the person's thinking, I'm going to, the wonderful relationship that I was wanting, it's being taken away from me, or I'm going to be thrown out of it. I'm going to be rejected or abandoned or criticized or attacked, right? Or shamed. And in order not to feel hurt, your threat management system turns on and says, we need to either attack or disengage or numb out or space out or whatever it is that your threat management system or their threat management system does when they perceive the possibility that they're going to get hurt. And losing the kind of relationship ideal that and getting their needs met, that's a painful threat. And so the threat management system turns on.